Hello everyone, welcome to my sad little corner of the internet. You're watching Gryffix, and today I'm going to do a response video to a YouTuber by the name of Onision, who is famous and infamous for a lot of things, so I guess that most of you have heard about this guy. And if you haven't, then you could go check out his channel to see what he is about. But basically, he made a video like 2 billion years ago in which he said that women who disagree with feminism are idiots, and that is an opinion that you can have. It's certainly not my opinion, and that is why I'm doing this video today, because I want to have an intelligent monologue. It's not going to be a discussion. I don't think it's ever going to be a discussion. I'm a pleb on YouTube. No one's going to see this video. But I'm going to explain why I think it's good for women to be against feminism and why it doesn't make you an idiot. It's not in my best interest to be against feminism. I am a woman, and these people definitely want to get things done for women. I just think that what they want to get done is harmful to society, and I think it has very little to do with equality. It has more to do with female superiority, which is why I've lost all my sympathy for the movement. Now, I do think that that is a very legitimate reason to be a criticizer of feminists and feminism as a whole. And that doesn't make me an idiot, I believe. I am an idiot, but for other reasons, honey. Sorry.
Hey, there's this incredibly stupid thing on the internet where really dumb girls hold up signs explaining why they're against feminism. You people are so fucking stupid. And this is me explaining not only why some girls are against feminism, but why you're a total fucking moron for being against feminism.
Yeah, I'm sure people love to be told how to treat women by a guy who has a history of domestic abuse. I hate to bring that up, but it is actually quite ironic. Now, let me go back to a time period when I was very little, let's say 10 years ago. I was 9, and let's just picture this, okay? I was sitting on the couch with my mom, and my mom tends to watch a lot of political talk shows, and this time around she was watching a talk show in which the host and his guests were talking about feminism. And I think this was my first encounter with feminism as an ideology. And I remember listening to the conversation, and I couldn't help myself but think, my God, what is this horseshit? I didn't recognize any of the issues that they brought up. And this whole patriarchy thing kind of reminded me of Catholic school, because the patriarchy seemed to be the feminist equivalent of the Catholic devil. In the sense that it's an incredibly vague term that people use to include anything they don't like, so they can dismiss it as a whole without actually having an intelligent discussion about it. And I didn't recognize the patriarchy either. I just didn't see it. I just thought these people were a bunch of whiny bitches. And of course you can say that a 9-year-old knows jack shit about the world, and you would be right. But then I got older, and my opinion got reaffirmed year after year after year. For your information, I'm now a 19-year-old college student, and I still think feminism, in its current condition in the Western world, in this day and age, is irrelevant, and if it's anything at all, it's harmful. And you have to understand, I literally come from the most unbiased household on planet fucking Earth. My mom, everyone in this household has their opinions, but my mom never enforced anything on me. She never forced any viewpoint down my throat. And in that sense, I can really honestly say that I feel the way I feel because that is the conclusion that I came to. I wasn't told this by mommy or daddy. And now I want you to ask yourself this question, right? Why would someone do this, even though it's against their own interests, according to you? Why do women sometimes refuse to support and even openly form an opposition against feminism? Why do they do that? Maybe, just maybe, because something is inherently wrong with it. And if you consider yourself a feminist, I would care. I'd really care about this, because if there's one thing I know, it's that a movement that's not self-critical tends to fall apart at some point because it just starts to show cracks, and from that point on it just goes down the hill. And honestly, I think that's the process that feminism is slowly moving towards too. And that was not correct English, but it's also 1:30 in the morning and I can't give a fuck.
I don't name feminism because I'm not a delusional, disgusting, hypocritical man-hater. I respect men, and they respect really.
I at one point wanted to find out more about MRAs, so instead of taking to Twitter or Tumblr, I actually went up to some MRAs and asked if I could talk to them. And it's something that I can recommend to anyone who wants to learn something about a certain ideology. Go talk to the people that identify as someone who supports said ideology. Don't do what you do and go onto Twitter and grab some pictures there to show and mock. I mean, for entertainment purposes, I get it, but you're not really making a case here. You're just showing someone who is openly saying, hey, I don't support feminism. There's no context, there's no further explanation. You're not actually exploring the reasoning behind the idea. And that's why I think this is a pretty weak thing to do when we're talking about, how to have a discussion. I think you could have made a better case as to why women who don't support feminism are idiots.
You're not only going to blindly generalize multiple times, but you're also going to assume that men just automatically respect you. I'm a man and I don't really respect what you said.
Hey twat, maybe if you want more nuance, maybe if you want more detail, maybe if you want statistics, percentages, explanations, research results, you should go to something that actually has content instead of an internet meme. You deliberately take things off the internet that are so uninformative. This is a meme. It's a girl holding a sign. She just posts that to get her opinion out there. There's no further explanation at all. And then you go bitch that it doesn't really explain anything. This is the source that you picked. You get to pick your sources for your videos. Go pick another one if you want one that has more information in it. I've made videos on this issue. Take one of my videos, debunk what I have to say. And really trying to become the reason why someone needs feminism, basically saying, well, you say that all men respect you, I don't respect what you have to say. That's a very weird approach, Onision. Are you aware of the fact that you can respect what someone has to say, yet still disagree with them? I wonder if you do.
Because guess what? You wouldn't have the right to vote without feminists. You wouldn't have the right to divorce a man without feminists. You wouldn't have anything near equal pay as men without feminists. For all we know, women would literally be treated like cattle without feminists. Is this how you want to look? You want to be walking around the streets with only a little bit of skin showing? You really want to be treated like property? You want to be born into this world destined to be sold off to the highest bidder? Is that really what you fucking want? Because in our history is the overwhelming tendency for women to be oppressed. And when someone is oppressed, they need someone to stand up and say, this is fucking bullshit and it needs to change. It's very difficult to do that without feminists.
There are so many things that I need to point out that I don't know where to start. You don't make it a secret that you don't like the Republican Party. You openly dismiss the Republican Party. Well, what if I'm gonna say that without the Republican Party, there still would be slavery? Because Abraham Lincoln, whether we like it or not, was a Republican. And he basically set a chain of events in motion that led to banning slavery. I mean, of course, at some point in history it would have stopped. This ban was bound to happen anyway. But it probably would have happened at a later point in history than it did happen. It was the Republicans who came up with that. So you are saying that you hate the Republican Party? What, do you want slavery? Do you want black people to be sold as property? Do you get where I'm going at, Onision? Because what we both understand, that's one thing we will agree on, is that the Republican Party has changed a lot. The Republicans of the 19th century are not the Republicans of the 21st century. Movements change, their ideologies change. In different times, different opinions are relevant, and you can agree with a movement in the 80s and then disagree with what they're doing in the 21st century. That's completely possible. It's what you are doing with Republicans, and it's what I am doing with feminism. There is a reason why we make a distinction between first wave, second wave, and third wave feminism. The first two waves had legitimate concerns. Everybody gets that. The biggest anti-feminist. Even Milo Yiannopoulos gets that and acknowledges that. I mean, people often bring up the argument that the suffragettes and the feminists of the 19th century and the 20th century could be really rude bitches. And they are right. Feminists have done a lot of questionable things. But I also believe that not a single equality movement gets very far if they are being too nice about it. I mean, the equality movements that wanted equality for black people in the 20th century also did a lot of questionable things. But then again, that was probably needed in that time period to get anywhere to begin with. So I'm going to give the feminists a pass on this. To basically summarize my viewpoint, first wave feminism, second wave feminism had legitimate concerns, but ever since that, just like what happened with the Republican Party, the movement went batshit crazy, and now it's actually really fucked up.
14 women say they don't need feminism, aka 14 dumb motherfuckers.
I have to admit, I'm truly baffled by the quality of your arguments, and I'm actually at this point reconsidering my viewpoint. I mean, 19 years of thinking feminism was wrong, and now you said dumb motherfuckers, and I just... epiphany. I just realized how wrong I was. Thank you, Onision. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing your name right.
I don't need feminism because I respect all humans, not just one gender. It's not about females being better than men. It's about women having the same rights as males. How does that not register in your brain?
Because maybe, just maybe, feminists do bitch about female superiority, and they won't call it that. Sometimes they straight out do. Usually they don't, because they're not that stupid yet. But I do see a lot of feminists that are actually sexist towards men. I can bring up one article after the other where feminists are saying hating men is okay, all men are rapists, men are less than women, we should pay women more than men. And you know what? These are not just Tumblr idiots. These are people that have blogs and columns on big-ass news websites like The Guardian. These are people that get to speak at the UN. These are people that get to speak at conferences and big-ass corporations like Google. These are people that are seen as the faces of modern-day feminism in the West. They're being taken extremely seriously. They get shit done, and they are people that are obviously... I don't know how you cannot see that. If you're familiar with them, you must have seen it, but they're openly being sexist towards men. And I also don't see how you have a problem with someone saying, I am pro-equality. I mean, maybe she doesn't subscribe to the label feminism, but at least she is saying she is pro-equality. Doesn't that achieve the same thing? I mean, what is your problem?
Is it that feminists have been fighting so hard for so long that you've finally gotten so comfortable with the lifestyle these women earn for you that you no longer appreciate it like some spoiled fucking brat that was born with a silver spoon in its mouth?
I don't owe anybody a thank you. The only person I might have to thank is a feminist who was involved in the first or second wave of feminism, because those people got shit done. If I'd say thank you, I'd say thank you to them, because they did pave the road for me. But I'm not gonna say thank you to modern day feminists. I mean, it's weird to say thank you to an ideology. You don't say thank you to an idea. So I'm not gonna thank the concept of feminism. I'm going to thank individuals. And Brianna Wu, Anita Sarkeesian, they weren't in the fucking trenches. They weren't the women who got shit done. Okay, that wasn't them. And they get to coast off of the accomplishments of previous generations, and that is wrong. It's really fucking easy to show up when the fight is over and say, hey, I'm a feminist now. Yeah, now everyone applauds you. Back then it was difficult. Those were the people that got their boots dirty, not today's feminism. And I don't owe them a thank you. I don't. And I also find it very weird that you say we should be grateful for equality. That's like saying you should be grateful that I am not hitting you. I'm not supposed to hit you. You don't owe me a thank you for that. Just like women don't owe anyone a thank you for being treated like a human being. I don't get your reasoning here, I really don't.
This is August 18 this year. Gender pay gap. Female bosses earn 35% less than male colleagues. Obviously, there's a huge fucking problem here even today. People who do the same job with the same quality and effort deserve the same fucking pay.
There is one thing you need to understand about scientific research, and that is the fact that certain things are not measurable. You can't measure effort. You can't measure quality. So to assume that that's absolutely true, that these women delivered the same quality and the same effort, it's false. I know it's false. You can't do anything with that mathematically. These are such vague concepts. You can't turn that into a statistic. You can't. I'm sorry. So that is false. And there's only one thing, to be honest, that we know for sure about the wage gap, and that's that the way it has been calculated is fucked up. They literally piled all the salaries nationwide and said, okay, who earns more here? And you're right, men did earn more. But the moment you take into consideration that women earn less because they work less, they make less hours, the moment you take that into consideration, the wage gap slowly vanishes to non-existence. That's reality. Women on average make less hours. And yeah, then you're gonna get paid less. Work more, get paid more. I mean, I'm not very right-wing, but I don't believe that we should all just have equal salaries. You earn what you make. And that is a very important thing in this discussion that a lot of people ignore. I mean, the whole wage gap thing is such a huge myth in our society, and it is perpetuated by so many people who don't know what they're talking about, that it's very difficult to eliminate it. The moment you talk about the wage gap and say that it's basically non-existent, at least in the way that you present it to me, people just immediately experience what you call cognitive dissonance. They are presented with something that completely goes against what they personally believe to be true, and therefore they won't accept it as fact, and they will just assume that no, they're actually right, the pay gap is real. Well, it isn't. The pay gap disappears when you take into consideration that women have less higher paying jobs and they make less hours. That is reality. You want to know something else? Young women earn more than young men. Women in Denmark earn more than men. Why? Because they earn it. Because they have higher paying jobs and they make more hours. So they make more money. There, is that sexism?
Doesn't matter if they're a girl or a boy. So to reduce this pay gap that still exists today, who are you gonna rely on? This chick holding up a sign ignorantly protesting feminism? An idea that exists to fight for the sign holder's very rights? Ladies, if you're gonna hold up a sign saying you're against feminism, I beg you, do it with a burqa on. At least then you would be honest about your real position.
We don't have to reduce the pay gap. If you make the same amount of hours as a guy does, if you have the exact same position, you are going to earn just as much. That's the truth. If you make less hours, you earn less. Well, welcome to the fucking real world. I'm also about done with the entire idea of being grateful to feminism for all its accomplishments. How long are we going to stay grateful for shit? I mean, in all honesty, I care more about what's relevant today than what was relevant in the 20th century. And if feminists are a pain in the ass today, I'm going to condemn them. I'm not going to think, oh, well, they were so great in the past. Well, they're not great anymore. And if you love feminism, if you think it's important, then you'd have to do the same thing. I'm left-wing as fuck. I criticize the left wing because I want it to be healthy. I want it to be a political group that I can be proud of and that I can identify myself with. That is why I criticize the left more than the right. Feminism is not what it used to be, not anymore.
To all you morons who are too fucking stupid to look up the definition of feminism.
If you look up the definition of feminism, then you are going to get the definition that 19th century feminism would have, and that 20th century feminism would have. But if we are actually going to look at what feminism does today, I can see that, to be honest, that ideology doesn't really match the definition anymore. Just like the Republican Party changed, and the Republican Party of the 21st century is in no way comparable to the Republican Party of the 19th century. And I care more about what the movement carries out rather than what the dictionary claims it is. Because the dictionary, that's just words. People are actions. That's what matters.
Before you make one of those asinine signs full of ignorance, this is the fucking definition. The advocacy of women's rights on the grounds of political, social, and economic equality to men. Not superiority, you fucking morons. Equality. So when you sit here like a fucking jackass opposing your own goddamn human rights, you don't help anyone. You just hurt yourself. So congratulations on punching yourself in the fucking face.
Look, dude, if you want to understand this, and you're going to get your information from a picture on the internet, then you're doing a very terrible job at understanding it. If you want to know why women think feminism is about superiority, you should spend a day with someone who considers himself or herself to be anti-feminist. And you should just talk to them. Talk to me. Talk to anybody. Yeah, the dictionary definition is still the fucking same, but the movement isn't. And the fact that you didn't notice that tells more about you than it does about people who are anti-feminist. Once again, when a lot of women are against a movement that supposedly fights for their own rights, something's going on there. People don't just do that for jack shit reasons. Especially the youth. All these people that you showed were youthful people. They tend to be so progressive. The youth is so much more progressive than their parents and their grandparents. Yet they come out and say, this goes too far, we are not feminists. That should ring all the alarm bells in your head. Why do they do that? Try to learn why this is the case. And please don't do it by going onto Twitter. Try and read a book for once. I assume you never read Christina Sommers, but that really is a good author if you want to learn more about this shit.
This whole anti-feminism movement is for complete fucking idiots. You don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Feminists, in a lot of ways, act like an abusive boyfriend. They treat you like shit. They think that you need them. Feminism, including you, is all like, oh, you need us. Don't bite in the hand that feeds you. I mean, the entire idea that women are independent individuals is gone under the banner of feminism, because these women in the video are not even entitled to their own opinions. No, they're idiots for disagreeing. They're biting in the hand that feeds them. If you believe in equality, you should also think that women don't need to be fed or helped. They're not fragile little flowers, they're fucking adults. They get to say and think what they want, and if they disagree with you, suck it up, princess. I mean it, suck it up. And if you want to learn more, which is a good thing, if you're trying to have a discussion, I can only approve of that. But don't do it this way, because you're just misrepresenting people's opinions. And you're doing no one any justice with that. Not even yourself, because you are only showing that you haven't done your research. I don't need people to stand up for me. When needed, I stand up for myself. And instead of throwing ad hominems, maybe you can try to inform yourself, and then we'll keep talking.
So many women simply don't understand how life was before feminism. I seriously have a hard time believing society today. We're acting like a bunch of fucking spoiled teenagers who have had everything handed to us. And what do? We turn towards our ancestors, the people who came before us, metaphorically our parents. And we say, fuck you for being so caring, so considerate, so loving towards me, for sacrificing yourself for the sake of my advancement in this world. Because I'm an ungrateful, spoiled piece of shit. And I'm so stupid I don't even realize by holding up this sign, I'm begging for things to go back to the way they were before feminism existed.
You are acting as if the people who are holding these signs are saying that we should go back to the way things were. As if they are saying, hey, can someone please take my right to vote away? No one is saying that. I don't even see where you get this from. All they're saying is that they're done with feminism now. It has been a great time, let's stop playing, I need to go home for dinner. That's all that they're saying.
So I ask you this, if you are going to be so goddamn stupid as to oppose your own gender's equality to the other gender, do not vote ever again, because without feminists you wouldn't have the right to vote. You oppose them, that would be hypocritical for you to vote. Do not accept a paycheck that is equal to your male co-workers. Refuse it and say, no, I'm against feminism, I want to be paid less. If you ever marry a guy and you want to divorce him, well, tough fucking luck. If there were no one fighting for women's rights, do you really think you'd have the ability to divorce someone? You're stuck with him because in your ideal world without feminism, feminist, you don't have the right to decide who you're with.
You do realize that words are dead things. They are written down and they stay the way they are. A dictionary definition is still the same dictionary definition in 10 years' time, unless someone is actively going to change it. Yet you cling on to what Google tells you. You don't care much about what the movement actually carries out. No, you care about what some people tell you it carries out. Well, if you go out there and you try to actually experience what feminism is doing, you get a completely different image. I don't want to compare feminism to Nazism here. That's not what I want to do. Because I'm not by any means saying that feminism is Nazism. I'm not calling anyone a feminazi here. But I do want to say that Nazism also claimed to be a lot of great things until the Holocaust happened. Please understand that a movement is a living and breathing thing. It's defined by its members, not by the dictionary. It's defined by its members and what they carry out. And if a lot of the members fight for female superiority rather than gender equality, then I am going to look at that and say this is the face of feminism. Because the dictionary that was written 10 years ago and didn't get updated yet, that doesn't tell me what feminism is doing on the internet right now and to the entertainment industry. By doxing and harassing people and then claiming the moral high ground and getting it too. If you want to hold on to Google for all your knowledge, instead of just going out and talking to people, sure, but don't expect to be convincing me. Don't expect to convince anybody. What you have done with this video of yours, is preaching in front of your own audience. The people who already agreed with you were watching this and fapping to it and thinking, yeah, he is right. But you haven't actually convinced anybody who opposes you to change their mind. And in that sense, you have failed.
No, in this crazy, bonkers, anti-feminist, fucktard world, you're some kind of inferior creature who only exists to serve rather than live as their own independent entity. So why are some girls against feminism? Because they're fucking stupid and they have no idea what it was like before feminism.
Throughout the video, I have acknowledged that first and second wave feminism was very important and that there were actual problems that had to be solved. But with this statement, I now have to go out and defend the men of 2 centuries ago, the men of 1 century ago, to be honest. Because this entire idea that women were getting raped and beaten left and right before they got the right to vote was fucking stupid. You know why? Because husbands have always loved their wives. Boyfriends always fell in love with their girlfriends. Brothers have always loved their sisters. And sons have always loved their mothers. And I think it's bullshit to say that 200 years ago men came home from work, where's my bitch wife, smack. I don't think that's how it went. I mean, of course, it was tougher for women back then. They probably had more domestic abuse to put up with than women do now, granted. But this idea that it was a draconian society is also a bit off. They were not equal, absolutely agree there. But men were not pigs that just stopped beating their wives because some law changed. You say that people are stupid because they don't understand feminism, while throughout your video you have shown that you don't understand feminism. You think if someone writes a 2-line definition on a piece of paper, that defines a movement, while a movement is a living and breathing thing and it takes a long time to understand it, and because it develops itself, because feminism might be completely different in 10 years' time, you have to keep studying it and you have to keep up with it to really understand what it's about, and you're not doing that. You open Google, look up the word, and that's what you base your opinion on. So to call people stupid, while you get your knowledge from Twitter photos and Google, that is really fucking hypocritical. Thank you for watching.